Hey, come on over. Mom's not home till 6, and we're exploring the TV shows, movies, and pop culture media that made us all turn down the volume so our parents wouldn't hear. We're going to build our intimacy literacy and dig into all the weird messages we took from pop culture about sex, relationships, and ourselves. Because, let's be honest, this was all the sex ed we got. Today, we will be talking about one of my favorite and most formative shows, Sailor Moon. We'll be taking a look at Season 1, Episode 25, Too Many Girlfriends, from our problematic fave 90s American censorship dub. I'm joined by Pretty Guardian Veronica Dress. She's a sexuality educator, coach, intimacy director for theater, and probably would actually be Sailor Moon if she were one of the Sailor Scouts.
Oh my gosh, that's so kind of you. I don't know what that means really, but I'm excited to be here. And I have never watched Sailor Moon until about an hour ago and watched it completely out of context. So I'm excited to learn even as I describe. I am joined by Blair Somerville, therapist, relationship expert, sexpert, and also historian of the intricacies of Sailor Moon from a cross-cultural context, anthropological.
That's a high bar, and I maybe relatively in this podcast, I can be the expert, but just like I'm not that deep in Sailor Moon. I've never read Sailor Moon, but 90s Sailor Moon lives very close to my heart. And I guess, so you've never seen Sailor Moon before. Had you heard much about it other than from me? Were you familiar with the magical girl genre at all?
I had two friends in high school, two sisters who liked Sailor Moon. And I remember it vaguely being played around me. I knew the visual of Sailor Moon, like I knew the outfit, I knew the cartoon character drawing, but that's the extent of it. And I can unpack this for my own, like maybe there's, a bias here that is worth pursuing, but I am stressed out by this style of animation. There's something about it that doesn't sit in my body well. It creeps me out a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know what that's about, and I am willing to push through and move through that as needed. But I watched it for you, baby. I'll do it all for you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching it for me. I am a little curious, when you say animation, do you mean like the art style, like the faces are a little off-putting, or do you mean like literally the way they move and like the effects and things like that? Both.
All of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, everything is not for everybody. And I think anime can be polarizing, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be your fave for it to be my fave.
Exactly. I'm excited to be in your world. And I'll say that I come from a pro Sailor Moon household in that my partner loves Sailor Moon and was very sad that they couldn't watch this episode with me. So it is in my best interest to explore this genre and just become conversational in the language of Sailor Moon. From what I have researched, and you're going to fill in a lot of these gaps, Blair, because I've researched very little, but this is what I know going into this. So if you listener are listening because you think we're fun and you love our insights, but you have no idea about Sailor Moon, same, and we're going to learn together. From what I know, Sailor Moon was a 90s Japanese TV series, and it comes from even before it was anime like cartoon TV show. It comes from a manga, like comic book series. That's correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, we're doing it. And this episode originally aired in Japan in October 92. Later it aired in English in October 95. So we have quite a bit of delay in it being released in the States. Is that release full stop in the States, it didn't start being released until around 95. Like there was a bit of a
Oh,
delay.
well, yeah. So there was a delay because they like dubbed it over and had to like figure out the rights and things. I'm not sure the gap between episode 1 airing in Japan and episode 1 airing in the US. I'd have to check that. But yeah, it's actually been an interesting change, I guess. Well, am I sure about this? I'm actually not sure anymore what the gap is like in modern anime and dubs if they try to get them closer together when they come out.
Okay.
Versus that time lag.
Sure. Well, what I found out right before we pressed record on this conversation is actually the version that I watched today is a pretty controversial version.
Oh, yeah.
Because much like most things the United States decides to adapt for its audience, it is less good than the original. So the English dubs of Sailor Moon, i.e. the episode that I saw today, are controversial with real fans because of how many changes they made from the original anime and manga because of censorship. So it seems like a lot of the changes that are made are really, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are around the politics of gender and sexuality.
Yeah.
Does that feel right to you?
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely true. And there were a couple other things that were changed. Like, I think there's one where there's like alcohol and they change it to juice because like drinking age stuff is very different in Japan than here. And like culture around alcohol is very different. But yeah, the main things are around sexuality and gender. Sailor Moon canonically has a lesbian couple. So obviously they're not allowed to be lesbians in the American dub.
God forbid.
Yeah. And in this episode we saw two of our villains who one of them in the American dub got a femme voice actor to make the obvious romantic relationship between the two of them straight rather than allowing them to just be the canonical gay couple that they are.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are around that from the politics of sexuality, considering that really the only gay representation that we had in the 90s for in any cartoons was all of the Disney queer-coded villains. Yeah. And so do you think that having these characters represented as gay, given that they were also the villains, would be helpful or harmful?
I think it's helpful because the way their relationship is portrayed, like they're villains, but their villainy is not about their sexuality. Like there's not a desirous element to their villainous behavior, and they're very happy together, and their relationship is relatively positive. And I think it also is like pretty well balanced in having also a lesbian couple who are hero characters in the show.
True.
And Sailor Moon's like, the villains are villains. A lot of the villains, there's a whole like lost memory, being corrupted over time sort of plot line. So the degree to which the villains are at their core bad people is a little in the air at times. If that makes sense.
Okay. I hear that. Yeah, that makes sense. And so if they were to not change that in the English dubbed version, theoretically, they would be not changing the sexuality of the other characters as well, which would allow for a much more well-rounded depiction of queerness. It's not that just the villains would be gay.
Right. Yeah. Well, and also it leads to some weird things like, so in covering up the queerness of this villain relationship, they chose to change one of the voice actors to make it a straight relationship. For the lesbian couple, because they're both also like Sailor Scouts, so they have their little outfits, they have their transformations and things, rather than attempting to change one of their genders, they made them cousins. So they're, again, their relationship is pretty obvious in how they interact with each other on screen. So there's this interesting question that's like, 90s American censors seemed to have decided incest is preferable to queerness.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, there's the 90s for you.
There's the 90s for you. But I really want to hear, I want to hear your summary from your like limited Sailor Moon context of this episode. What was it generally about?
Okay. Well, I'm going to take us back before even this specific episode, because I will say that I have a summary handy to help me. But Sailor Moon, the premise of Sailor Moon in General, right? Like, for those who maybe are in the world of Veronica and are like, I know that it exists, but I don't really know anything else. In my brain, I put it in the category almost of, maybe this is really divisive and reductive, but in my brain, it lived in the same universe as like the Powerpuff Girls, in that it was young girls, and I think that they're supposed to be schoolgirls in Sailor Moon, who have superpowers and fight off, you know, evil villains who are trying to take over the universe or the world. That's the extent of my knowledge of the premise of Sailor Moon. Yeah. For our listeners who might also be coming into this without this knowledge, is there key information that is helpful for us to name before we?
I don't know. I think that is pretty clear. Like, there is definitely a relationship between Powerpuff Girls and Sailor Moon. It's like I said earlier, there's sort of a magical girl genre where you'll have a regular everyday girl, usually a teenager or a little younger, like somewhere between probably 12 to 16-ish for the genre. And she has something that happens that awakens magical powers, and she can transform into this like superhero, and the fate of the world is on her shoulders, and she has a very important job to do, but she's also a regular teenage girl.
Balancing it all, just like Mia Thermopolis. She's out here.
Exactly.
Princess of Genovia.
Yes. But with a little more spice in that there's a little like magical transformation where the outfit is different.
Which is delightful. I did enjoy the outfit change. Okay, so that's the background we have, like the background setting of this whole dynamic. This episode that we're talking about today is season 1, episode 25, which is
Too many girlfriends.
Too many girlfriends. So I did not know that even the names of the characters are different in the dub. And so I, you know, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, I'm going to be using those names because that's what's in my breakdown, and know that we need to question the premise of that. So it all begins when the weatherman is wrong, is really what opens this show. So Lita is caught in a downpour and runs into Andrew. And Andrew, from what I surmised, is kind of like the cool older brother-ish figure that all of the Sailor Moon gals have a crush on. Does that seem right?
Yes. Yeah, he works at the arcade, and they go play at the arcade after school, so they see him all the time, and he's very cool, and he's
major crush,
very hot.
Major crush. And so when they bump into each other, she's originally angry because she's caught in the rain. She's miserable, and she's like, this dude, get out of my way. I'm caught in the rain. This is not the vibe. And then she sees it's Andrew, and literally all of these flowers emerge, and her eyes get bigger. And we hear her inner monologue being so enamored, like, wow, I can't believe he's talking to me. He's so cool. And what happens is that in this conversation is that they're chatting. She mentions wanting to open a restaurant someday. And he basically is like, I don't really cook like that. And she's like, I'll teach you to cook. That's great. I'll come over. I'll come over today. Okay, bye. I'm coming over today. She invites herself over so earnestly. And before he can tell her that he actually has a date tonight with his long-term girlfriend, she scampers away. And so Rita, the long-term girlfriend, appears and is visibly much older than the Sailor Moon gals. Like, Lita has, you know, schoolgirl energy, and Rita, the name rhyme will be challenging. I love the little tweaks they make in dress and cartooning that is supposed to tell us this person is older. And in this case, it is that her hair is long and voluptuous.
And lab coat.
That's how and she has an angular kind of blazer situation.
She got a full lab coat
what tells
on.
You. Yeah, it's a full-on lab coat because she's in the sciences and she just got promoted and is going to Nairobi.
Yes.
Except they just keep calling it Africa because...
Of course they do.
Welcome to
90s.
a U.S. dub. Yes. So she got promoted. She's getting to go for 2 years to do her research abroad. And Andrew's so happy for her, and he's so sad because he doesn't want her to give up her dream, but he's really scared their relationship won't make it, but maybe they can do long distance. And so that's the background, or like the backdrop, as Lita excitedly shows up at his house to try and teach him how to cook, which really she invited herself over, and she's so hyper focused on this. And he's like, my house is a mess. And she's like, it's okay. And then she sees that it's not a mess in the way people say to be humble.
It's actually a mess.
A true mess.
Yeah.
And so she immediately puts him to work and is like, I can't cook like this. You need to do your dishes. They're cleaning together. It seems like she figures out somewhere.
She sees a photo, I think.
Because she sees a picture. She sees a picture of Rita, the girlfriend, when she's cleaning his house, and is like, oh, who's that? Is that your sister? And he's like, oh, it's my girlfriend, Rita. And she freaks out. And so eventually she tells Serena, who is Sailor Moon, to my understanding. Yes. And Serena is so upset. She is heartbroken. And the only voice of reason in this whole episode is the cat, who is my hero. And is like, you have a crush on this other dude. What are you even talking about? And she's like, I know, but Andrew. And so she has a setback in her recovery from the drug of Andrew and is just distraught. She is so distraught, they both are, that he has a long-term girlfriend and that they didn't know about it. So sweet and relatable the way that they are. Yeah. It's that kind of crush that is not rooted in any reason or any logic that this could ever happen. Right. But it's that kind of crush that almost like brings a friend group together, that mutual crush. And the idea of it being taken away from you, even though it was never really possible in the first place, is just so heartbreaking. And so it's really tender. But at the same time, I can't help but think, y'all are saving the world. And this is what's bringing you to your knees? Is this
it's really interesting because they're like, I think that's where it really comes through that the audience for this show is also 14-year-old girls, and that they are 14 in the or 14-ish in the show. Because like, I don't know, when you're that young, that sort of crush does feel world ending when you get this kind of information. It feels just as important when you're young like that. Like, oh my God, I didn't know that this person I had a crush on actually has a partner. And now I'm like, oh, this is changing everything. It's crushing my whole world. My life is over. Yeah. It feels like that big of a deal.
Just as much as the villains are out there ruining the world, so is Andrew having a girlfriend, and both are valid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cute. That's something that I actually really enjoy about Sailor Moon is that they get to just be silly and young and have their concerns be just as important as the world and its safety. Because I think a lot of times there's an arc that like infantilizes them for feeling this way, or like a theme in a show that like, oh, well, they have to learn to grow up and get over this sort of thing because that's childish and stupid. But what I like about this kind of genre and about Sailor Moon is that it is important. This actually is really central, this stuff with Andrew, and their relationships are central. How they are as a friend group is really important for their magical abilities, and Sailor Moon's like feelings for Tuxedo Mask, which come up later too. That's the other guy, Darien, is like, it's also intertwined with the whole saving the world plot stuff. So it gets to actually matter as much as it feels like it does to them.
I think about this even in Stranger Things, which, you know, is also a group of young kids who are the central characters trying to save the world. And that my favorite episodes of that are really the ones that don't focus quite as much on the world saving, but really on their dynamic as a friend group and those real coming of age things, which might be because, you know, that's just what I'm more interested in. But I think it's also really lovely when shows that have an action element give us space to see what makes the world worth saving, right? That there are these relationships are the things that make a world that is
Mhm.
worth fighting for and doing these big, scary, brave
Yeah.
things for. And I think we could all probably take a lesson from that even now in like justice movements, right? That we spend so much time fighting against bills and laws and, you know, and there's many of those things to fight against because, you know, it's all falling
Mhm.
apart. And I think that's one of the reasons that you and I at least talk about pleasure
Totally.
and joy and intimacy so much is because we need to keep those things that make the world we are trying to build really salient and present in our minds is like the only way that we'll sustainably be able to continue doing this
Mhm.
work. So, you know, shout out to Sailor Moon for
Yes.
teaching me that. You're
Yeah,
turning
look,
me
and I know
over.
you will because you're very much a Sailor Moon. You're very much a Serena, and I think it's going to grow on you. And I also just really enjoy media where girls get to be girls without being made fun of for it. Like gushing about their crushes and having crushes on lots of different dudes. And maybe they're not reasonable, but they still get to enjoy it anyway. And they have the so fun. I will never, never not love a transformation sequence where she like throws her hand up and the ribbons come out and there's music and her cute outfit comes on. She gets her boots. I just love it.
It's so good. I just wish that we could truly
Oh
snap
my
our
God.
fingers and have those moments every day to
Yes.
get ready.
Yeah.
Ain't that the dream? Maybe that's the through line of this whole season. I mean, the opening credits to Grease, birds are dressing Sandy, you know, and here we are. Yeah. So, okay. So back to the general plot is that she's over there. She discovers the picture. She's heartbroken. She tells Serena. Serena is also heartbroken. And Lita decides to insert herself into this relationship by loitering outside Rita's job and pretending that she also wants to get into the sciences. Hashtag women in STEM. And so she is having this kind of mentor style conversation with Rita saying like, oh my gosh, you do such cool, important work. Aren't you so excited to get to go to Africa, et cetera, et cetera. And Rita really opens up and is like, I do, but also this relationship is really important to me and I might not take it because I'm scared of what it will do to my life with Andrew. And Lita gets so upset and is like, no, you have to do this. Like, this is your dream. And maybe you guys can be long distance or like maybe it will work out. And she weirdly finds herself almost rooting for them, even in spite of herself, right? Like she's like, I don't know where I'm going with whose side I'm on in my speech I am making right now. Because it is complicated, right? Like you also, when you are a 14-year-old girl or, you know, a 35-year-old one in my case, like you love and you want the happy story for people and you want to root for folks. And, you know, I think they find themselves in this confusing place. So Andrew is supposed to be making this dinner. He's learning to cook for Rita to make this lovely dinner for them. He was going to do this even before he knew she was moving. And so now Serena has joined Lita over at his house to help him cook dinner for his girlfriend Rita. But before they can do that, Rita calls him from a phone booth, which we love, and is heartbroken. She's so sad and doesn't know what to do. It seems like her conversation outside of work with Lita really threw her through a loop and she's not sure what the right thing to do is. And so he says to the girls, listen, I got to run. I'm going to go get her. Is everything going to be okay here food wise? And they're like, it'll keep. And time passes while they wait with their sad dinner and he's not back yet. And I think at first we're not sure if like if the two of them are making up and they're not coming back or they got, you know, caught up. But then somebody's purse starts to glow with a crystal.
Sailor Moon has a special little thing that like it's her red phone, it's her bat signal, it's the red alert. There's enemy activity nearby. It's time for you to go, Sailor Moon.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Even when you said red phone, I was like, I don't know what that is.
Powerpuff Girls.
So not in this genre.
Come on, they have the like phone, the City Hall phone, and I think Superman has that.
I can't speak to it. Somebody has a phone. So they're all a tizzy and are still caught up in sadness that Andrew and his girlfriend are gone. And the cat is like jumping up at the window, trying to be like, you guys, pay attention. Like, there's danger.
Yeah.
And so they realize, and then we have a little costuming sequence where they change in midair and become their, superpower selves. And they get to where Andrew and Rita are, because that's where the danger is happening. And our villains, whose names I can't remember, are there.
Zoisite and I think Kunzite is the other one.
Sure. And they are fighting with Andrew. He's injured. And Rita is there. And the villain says something like, well, you're like insinuating that Rita is on their side. And we see that Rita, this is where I get confused, Blair. You're going to have to help me. Was Rita possessed by I don't know. Tell me what happened.
There was this so the villains are trying to get these rainbow crystals. The crystals are inside of random people. And wow, wouldn't you know it, they're all in Tokyo, where Sailor Moon lives. And the crystals feed off of people's negative emotions. So periodically the villains will do things to instigate powerful negative emotions in people. Jealousy, fear, anxiety, all sorts, sadness, all kinds of things. So the implication in this episode, it's not very clear, is that her worry about what do I do? I'm going to miss Andrew. How do I make this decision? Is worsening her situation, re the rainbow crystal in her body. And when it becomes activated, she sort of transforms in the way that Sailor Moon does into this monstrous being that has bug powers because she's an entomologist. So that's why she
cool.
summons leeches.
I will say that her villain costume, or her villain version of herself, so cool looking. Badass.
Yes.
An icon.
Yeah. She had fire hair. It was very cool.
With an undercut situation. It's very good. It kind of reminds me if Reptar plus Angelica Pickle's older sister were to merge into one being.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
That's the vibe.
It actually is very much that. Yes.
So there's a fight sequence. Good. And Tuxedo Man shows up, who is Darien by day, a friend and perhaps crush of Sailor Moon. And as soon as she sees Tuxedo Man, she's like, oh, my hero. And Lita's like, weren't you back on Andrew 2 minutes ago? And she's like, never mind, you can have him. I'm into Tuxedo Man. And so that happens. They battle. Andrew is saved. Rita turns back into herself. The big bad villain wanders away into the air because she tricked Tuxedo Man with his ego. And that's all she wrote, kind of, right? That's how things end.
Well, we get the little wrap up scene where we see the airport where Andrew is seeing Rita off, and they both sort of talk at the same time to say that they'll write each other every day. It's very cute. And Sailor Jupiter, who is Lita, and Serena are there, and Lita's like, I'm still going to run off and flirt with him because
she says,
I don't know.
Still flirt.
She's like, nothing will happen, but I can still flirt. It'll be fun. It's practice for when I steal Tuxedo Mask from you. So then Sailor Moon runs after her.
I loved that. I loved that so much.
And we also got a PSA. Do you remember the little PSA we got at the end?
No.
Sailor Moon went on a whole little... This is a very 90s show because they do have a full PSA montage at the end. So at the end, Sailor Moon pops up and says, hey, lots of us go through hard things, and it's always important to talk to your parents or a counselor if you need support. You don't have to go through it alone. Our friendships are important, and we have to rely on each other. Sailor Moon says... And then the episode ends.
That's really cute. Oh my gosh, I totally missed that, where I pressed pause because I thought it was over. Is probably exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Blair, take me back in time to baby Blair watching this. What were the messages that came through, positive, negative, or somewhere in between from Sailor Moon? Maybe this episode, maybe other ones. Like how did it imprint on your relationship to sexuality and gender?
It is such a mixture because there definitely were like obvious queer themes that I was like, something is going on here that I can't, I don't know what that's about. Like
something's brewing.
Sailor Moon is very bi-coded a lot of the time in how she reacts to a lot of the women that she sees. There's several other like bi-coded sort of things. At one point there's this like very androgynous girl who starts going to their school, and like all of the girls are like, oh my god, she's like really hot, what do I do? Should I like there's a girl who gives Sailor Moon a little love confession, and Sailor Moon is like, that's so sweet, oh my god, thank you. I'm like not into it, but thanks. That's like very positive. There's also the like, that Lita's thing was, let me cook for you. Let me clean your house for you. Let me like perform these very gender normative roles to prove that I could be a good girlfriend for you. That I don't love. I'll say that.
Right. Yeah.
And as a kid watching it, I also was confused about Tuxedo Mask and I wonder so when you watched this, what was your impression of how old Darien is?
I thought that he was like their age. I thought that he was also a high school student, and he was kind of like light bullying Sailor Moon, right? Before he turns into Tuxedo Mask, like when it's just them out in the world, he's kind of picking on her, which I guess, in that terrible 90s way is like, well, if he's picking on you, that means he likes you, which is such
don't like that,
harmful reinforcement of that narrative. But yeah, I thought he was a high school student. Is he not?
No, he is. When I was watching it as a kid, I had the impression that he's like in college or is a full adult man. I think because of the like turtleneck blazer he's wearing, that I was like, that's not.
See the power of a pointy blazer in this show. It ages you.
So I was very confused by like at the time getting the message like, so it's cool that Sailor Moon's like 14 and trying to be in a relationship, like this adult man is hanging out with them. Like, okay, I don't know if I agree with that, but yes, he is intended to be roughly their age, maybe a couple years older.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I did take away like the importance of friendships. I think I did get a lot of very normative gender role things that were not my favorite.
Right. And how to make a boy like you.
Yes.
As well as like just in some ways I love that it's teaching persistence on the girl's part, that they're like, this is what I want, I'm going for it. But absolutely not teaching like
to disrespect a no or something.
Notice consent.
Right.
Yeah. That it's like maybe cute that Lita is going over, being like, I'm coming over today. But there are lots of other scenarios where a person would do that. That is definitely more of a Seventh Heaven episode than anything else.
Yeah. It could quickly take us into Seventh Heaven territory. And I wonder, like, I know you didn't really have a relationship with Sailor Moon. So watching it as an adult for the first time, trying to think about, if I'm a parent in the 90s, do I want my child to watch this? Does this seem appropriate? What do you think?
I mean, I think that it seems appropriate. I don't think that that's a concern I have. I think if anything, I would probably start conversation about what it feels like to have a crush and how to tell if maybe he likes her back, or how do you deal with disappointment and rejection when somebody you really like doesn't like you that way. And, classic sex ed teacher would probably go that direction with it. But I will say that there was a knee-jerk reaction that I had in watching it where I was like, ugh, like these girls are literally so badass and we are spending time on them being obsessed with a guy who doesn't like them back. That feels like a bummer. But I really love what you said at the top about they get to be 14-year-old girls. Like that is not to be badass does not mean to be devoid of crushes and a love of romance and obsession over, the crush of the day.
Right.
So I think Even in this conversation, Blair, I learned some.
Yeah, it is a fine line because I also get aggravated and I suspect if I didn't have the nostalgia I have for Sailor Moon, like Sailor Moon being my first exposure to this type of trope, I would be more frustrated with it. But I do get annoyed when it's so often like, okay, but why is it always about romance as well? Like, why does romance have to be a part of it at all? Why can't it only be about her friendships? Why can't those get to be the most important thing for her right now?
Yeah, and I'll say, like, since I haven't seen any other episodes, really, I don't know how much this is the typical story versus just a one-off episode. So, like, I don't have the pattern necessarily, but I wonder, what is your wish for these characters of what happens top of next episode in your dream world?
In my dream world, I think that, maybe Lita and Serena do get to have fun, like practicing flirting, figuring out what that means for them. How do they like to flirt? How do they tell if somebody's flirting with them?
Love it.
And I think that it's really, in some ways, I don't want to hope for Sailor Moon that she works things out with Darien, because in some ways he's very irritating. Like you said, he's picking on her. I need him to fix himself and be able to just be nice to her.
I love it.
But knowing just, I don't know, they have a whole kind of reincarnated lost memory life together thing. They have a child together, which is a whole other thing. There's like a time travel element. It's a lot that is going on with Sailor Moon, so it's hard to not imagine her with him ultimately. For Lita, though, I kind of imagine her maybe unpacking a little compulsory heterosexuality, maybe having some questions for herself, like, why did I feel like my cooking has to be the way that a man has to like me? What does it mean if it's more for me, or if I open up like who I might be interested in and evaluate how I know I'm interested in them? I think there could be some interesting things there for her.
I think that the only addition I would have is that the conversations between Rita and Andrew happen far before the airport, and that they don't just giggle and say, like, I'll write to you, but like, what does it look like to make a plan?
Right.
And name, like, he said he was willing to move for her. And if he's not, I mean, granted, him being like, I'm gonna also become a bug scientist. Like, maybe don't go that far, Andrew. Reflect on,
have a firmer sense of yourself.
But, have a firm sense of self. But, like, there are options to how to make this work for your relationship if that is your priority. And I feel like they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So, my wish for them would be to have, maybe a conversation a little bit sooner and a little bit more clearly.
Yeah.
So they are not. So that they know if they are on the same page, which maybe they aren't. But I think now they go in with a hopefulness and an uncertainty that in some ways is always going to be there, but perhaps didn't need to be as present as it ended up being.
Yeah, agree.
Those are my wishes for them.
Yeah. Between Andrew and Rita, it would have been nice if they had a little, like, just direct conversation about what they want to do.
She's in a phone booth heartbroken.
Yeah.
And maybe maybe they did before the villains showed up. I can't speak to that, but I think, okay, I'm open to it. I'm open to Sailor Moon.
Okay.
I'll watch again. And I'll let you know further takeaways as I progress on my journey.
Okay. Can explore some more Sailor Moon. See what you think. You don't have to love it.
That's true. Building intimacy doesn't mean always liking all the exact same things.
Yeah.
We get to introduce each other to different things.
Yeah.
And on that note, I can't wait to dig into our next topic together. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Imagine we're doing a montage where we spin and change outfits. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Mom's Not Home Till 6. Leave us a rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you found us. Pitch us your alternate ending or send suggestions to momsnothome till6@gmail.com, spelled with no punctuation and the numeral 6. You can find more from us by following us on Instagram at momsnothome till6 or on Blue Sky at momsnothome. Find more from Veronica by following her on Instagram at The Dress Rehearsal, or support the podcast financially on Patreon at The Dress Rehearsal. We'd like to extend our gratitude to the queer and trans communities, past and present, who've made it possible to be the people we are today, and to you for listening. Now be sure to change that TV channel back to something appropriate before Mom gets home, and we'll catch you next time.